Hey, it's Zell. I switched over from Sublime Text to Visual Code Studio recently, and I want to show you how I set it up. For this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Visual Studio Insiders, which is the development version of Visual Studio Code. The icons look slightly different. Insiders is green in color, but the standard Visual Studio Code is blue. You can set up either one. I normally use the standard version for development, but since I've already set it up, I can't show you how to set it up again, which is why I'm using Visual Studio Insiders here. I'm going to call it VS Code for now in this video because Visual Studio Code is going to be a mouthful to talk. When you open up Visual Studio, you'll come to this welcome page. The first thing I do to set up Visual Studio Code to my personal preference is to install Sublime Text shortcuts because I used to use Sublime Text. If you want to do so, you can click on Sublime Text over here and the window will prompt you to install the Sublime Text shortcut. Just click OK and it will reload. You can enable the new features for Sublime Text 3. I will just click yes. And with that, Sublime Text shortcuts have already been installed. The next thing you want to do might be to choose a color theme that you're comfortable with when you code. To choose a color theme, you can open up the Extensions tab by clicking on this tab over here, or you can use Command-Shift-X. Once you're in the marketplace, you can type theme and you will see a lot of different themes for you to download. The one that I used when I used Sublime Text is called Tomorrow. The one I specifically used when I used Sublime Text was called Tomorrow Night 80s. You might want to try it out, it looks pretty nice. However, when I switched over to VS Code, I felt that Atom and is nicer for me. So that's the one we're going to install. Just click on Install, Reload. Once you have reloaded VS Code, you can click on Color Theme and select the one that you have installed. In this case, Atom and And once you do so, the entire VS Code Studio theme will be updated to the one you selected. The next thing you might want to edit is to change the font size and font family and how your code looks when you write. Right now, if you look at the code, it's a little bit too small in my opinion. It's pretty hard to read. So what I will do is to open up the preference settings with Command, comma. If you're using Windows, that should be Control, comma if I'm not wrong. On the left is a list of settings and the default settings in VS Code. On the right is the settings you would like to use. To increase the font size, you can use editor.fontSize. So go ahead and copy, paste it in the right. I'll set the editor font size to 16 to make it much bigger. The next thing I want to do is to change the font family. What I would like to use is Mono. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the font family over. You can use any font family that you want. Mono is just what I prefer. This is slightly too big for my own preferences. In VS Code, I typically like to press Command- to zoom the entire workspace out a little bit so we have smaller tabs and smaller font sizes. This would be perfect for me if I am working directly on my computer. For now, I'm going to leave it at the zoom level of 0 because it makes it easier for you to see. Alright, if you head over to the CSS file, you can see these two lines. The lines can get quite distracting if you're using the default settings. One way to remove these lines is to use editor.render indent false. And if you do so, the guidelines will be removed entirely. But removing the guidelines entirely isn't a good experience because indent guides are there to help us know what is indented and what is not. What I recommend is to search the extensions marketplace for an extension called guides. This is the one. Click on install, reload. Once you have installed guides, you can see the indent guide changed to red color, which is slightly more subtle. If you go back to the CSS, you'll notice the indent guides are much more subtle right now. This is a setup I use for the appearance for VS Code. I hope you learned something useful from this video. In the next video, I will show you how I set up preferences for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button below and I will send you one video like this every Friday. Or better yet, if you subscribe over at my blog at zelwk.com, I will send you one article and one video every week to help you become a better front-end developer. With that, happy Friday. I hope you have a good weekend and I see you next week.